Welcome to the show where we unearth new ways of looking at ever-evolving life around the world, seen from a number of different industries, cultures, and backgrounds. But there's one thing that unites everyone I speak to. They all want to do their part to make the world better in their own unique ways. It's a uniting passion. Whether they're from the commercial world, third sector, or public sector, from the global north or the global south, my name is Philippa White, and welcome to TIE Unearthed. Hello, and welcome to episode 41 of TIE Unearthed. Today, I have a really special guest with us, someone I've known for a very long time. His wife and creative partner is a childhood friend of mine, and he's one of the most talented people I know. GQ Style called him a modern master, and his work, inspired by old master techniques, has been embraced by the global pop surrealist movement. Ben Ashton is a master of subversion. His art is both beautiful and challenging, a clash of past and future that merges classic techniques with new ideas. His current series being inspired by the swagger portraits of artists such as Thomas Lawrence. He sends up the pomposity of contemporary discourse and the weaponization of nostalgia. As Ben points out, history tends to be cyclical, so by drawing on the past, he's able to provide context to art that reacts to current events. Now, today we're going to be talking about the power of patience and resilience to realize your purpose. We talk about the reality of living as an artist and what values he holds true that have helped him make a success of living out his passion. We hear about working with his wife, Fiona, the joint projects they've worked on, and some very honest reflections he's had from creating Rag and Bone Man's most recent official video. I think a lot of us out there wonder what it takes to make a successful personal brand. What has gone into it? Ben has created something truly extraordinary. And today, Ben shares the lessons he's learned pursuing and maintaining a brand that is truly authentic. There's so much goodness here. So if you're looking to feel inspired as you wrap up your holidays and start truly living out your purpose in 2022, this is a must listen. Here's Ben. Hi, Ben. It's wonderful to have you with us. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Well,
it's a real pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining TIE Unearthed. And tell me where, well, I can see where you are, but our listeners unfortunately won't be able to see because this won't be on video. Where are you?
I'm in London. I'm in North London at the moment, where I live and work in a very, very tiny studio. Where, yes, it's kind of like a glorified garage, basically. But you're used to it. You're used to it in London. It's fine.
And it's amazing because for our listeners, I'm on Zoom. I'm talking to Ben over a video. His work is extraordinary, and I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe there's one on the fridge there. There's about 6 pieces of art that I can just see in this small little square. Your studio is extraordinary. Look at that. There's a whole lot of them.
Yeah, it just keeps on going. Yeah. So, yeah.
It really does. It's amazing. Ben and I have known each other for a long time, and his wife is one of my oldest friends. I've known Fiona since I was, 7, I think, maybe 8. But Fiona and I go way back, and as a result, Ben and I go pretty far back because you've been married for quite a while now. So, wow, yeah.
Yeah, over a decade now. We've just celebrated 10 years, 2 years ago, I think, actually. Yeah, wow, yeah, it's crazy.
Congratulations. That's great. And as we've just said, going into your house and your studio is just one of the most extraordinary places to be. It's just so inspiring, art everywhere. And I just think it would just be amazing for you to bring you to life. We'll go into your art and all that kind of stuff in a sec, but just tell us your story. How did you end up in London? And tell us your story.
Well, yeah, London. Yeah, okay. So I suppose I started my my learning about art in Oxford, And then I think I did a year of foundation there. Then I went up to Newcastle and I did 4 years studying there. And then I finished my education down in London. So this is when I actually came to London and finished at the Slade doing my MA there. So I did, I don't know, 7 years of straight art education, which is far too much for any artist to do, I think. You don't need any of it. And then, and now I've been living and working in London for over it's about 14, 15 years. Yeah, it's started to become quite a long time actually now. And I suppose, what I do nowadays is, or how I'm known is I'm a pop surrealist, which is something that I never thought I was going to be, never had any intention of being. But due to sort of social media and the way that people hashtag you and your work on social media, I realised that in fact there's a kind of a group of people that are interested in the type of work that I do. And it's been quite an interesting discovery on my part. I'm quite glad that I'm part of their thing, whatever their thing is. So, that's what I am now. Yeah, I'm a pop surrealist. Yeah.
Thanks to Instagram. Tell me, how did you, have you always been into art when you were young? Were you there drawing? Tell us just how did you even get into studying art, and when did you decide to go down that route?
It's kind of by default, really. My father's an artist. My mum was a secondary school art teacher. She was head of all the entire creative faculty. And so she was the main breadwinner. I was brought up by my dad mostly, and because she was too busy making money, which is brilliant. Thank you, Mum. And basically, I was sort of taken around galleries. I sort of grew up around it. And I think I was just sort of jumping through educational hoops until I was probably halfway through my BA at Newcastle, and I realised that that's what I wanted to do with my life. Because, until that moment, I was just sort of going with the flow of it all. And thankfully, as having parents that are involved in the arts, I saw it as a viable career that I could do.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Which is really
because otherwise
nice.
I don't think I would have gone down this path. There's a lot of people I think are way more sort of naturally talented art-wise, and because they had a different upbringing, they never pursued it. And a lot of people have talked to me and said they wish they had later on in life. They wish they had gone down that path. I actually saw it as a possibility, and so that's why I pursued it, I suppose.
And I think that's what makes this conversation so fascinating, because in education, as you're sort of growing up, and obviously you've also got a son, right? So, as you're starting to, Hero's still really little, but I've got young children too. And I certainly don't ever want to be one of those parents that's trying to shoehorn my children into some kind of direction that, you have to be a doctor. I will actually never be that person. But I think at the same time, as a parent, you want to know that your children are going to be able to be independent and be able to make money. And I certainly have no plan to fund my children, past 18 years old. You're going to be getting a job. No. So anyway, but in all seriously, I definitely do want them to be able to make a living. And so there's that stigma, I guess, of, oh gosh, if you're an artist, you're just going to be like this starving artist, and life is going to be very difficult. And what is so exciting, seeing you and Fiona, you both have been in art and working as artists for your careers. Yeah. And I just think it's so inspirational. And this is why I was so excited to talk to you, Ben, because I think you and Fiona actually are perfect examples of perseverance and dedication and true authenticity of what you do. And, if you build it and you focus on it and you have that determination, they will come. And I just think what would be really great for anyone who's listening to this, just to give people who, maybe they are artists, maybe this is something that some of your listeners or followers will be listening to as well. what do you see yourself doing most days? And what gets you excited about getting out of bed? And maybe you could just give us a little insight to what your life is like living and working and making a living as an artist.
Yeah. So, I mean, structure is integral to I think many artists' existence. It involves a hell of a lot of getting up and rigorously doing the same thing every day in order to get really good at it. Because it just takes so many hours to actually get it honed properly. There's a lot of craft involved, especially in what I do. And so that's many hours each day. If you don't put those hours in, you just simply won't get good at the thing. But there's so much more to it than that, because obviously you can be very isolated as an artist as well, because you've got to put those hours in. You've got to be at home. You've got to be in the studio. And so how do you get it out there? How do you get yourself out there to sort of promote what you do? Because no one's going to know about it unless you put it out there. And so you have to be quite creative in your way of thinking in how to address that problem. And I think Fee and I have spent most of our time sort of collaborating on ways in which we can do that, in order to make a living out of what we do. And so, as well as doing the paintings, I have a merch line. There's prints. I'm working on a new merch line at the moment, and you've got to keep those things rolling, all these plates spinning at the same time. But that's fun. I still get to do what I want to do in my day-to-day life, which is something, I speak to a lot of other parents at the school gates, and they're probably a lot of them making more money. It's North London. They have nice houses and all the rest. But I get the awful feeling that they don't really enjoy their jobs all that much. And I actually get to enjoy my job and probably, and still make enough money to exist. So, I mean, it's it's not that bad.
And I mean, you're doing and it's funny actually listening to you talk, because I can relate as far as having to make the decision of, do I want to follow my passion and my purpose and what speaks to me, or do I want to tick a box or fit into a box that, convention or society has kind of created for me. And I definitely have chosen the former, which is, going down my purpose-driven path.
And it's really good for our relationship as well, because we get to spend a lot of time around each other. I mean, it's probably not good for everybody in that way, but it works for us. We've always lived in a tiny space. We've always collaborated. If we weren't doing that, I don't think we get on so well. If we were spending vast amounts of time apart, it wouldn't work. So,
it's amazing. Isn't that fantastic?
It's worked for us.
Thank goodness, right?
Yeah, right.
What would be great to know? I mean, I just recently saw the video that you did for Rag and Bone Man, the most recent execution, which I thought was phenomenal and such a genius
thank you.
idea and beautiful execution of a song. And so for all of our listeners, you need to check it out on, Fall in Love Again, I think is the name of the song by Rag and Bone Man.
Yeah, Fall in Love Again. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and you'll find it on YouTube.
But I think what would be great, you talked about having a merch line, and you've got your paintings, and, you did this video. What are just some of the last, 5 projects or something that you can just tell our listeners, just to get an insight into your world?
Yeah,
so
it's mixed up. It's kind of mixed up between the work that Fee and I do together and what we do individually, and those two things collide a lot as well. And I think probably one of the most important things that I've learned throughout my artistic career is don't turn things down. Things come up, and they do come up quite randomly. Then just take a chance on it. Sometimes you'll find it doesn't work. Most of the time it does. If it doesn't work, it doesn't really matter. You haven't actually lost too much. And so try and be kind of flexible in that. And it's something that hasn't necessarily come particularly easy for me, because I'm quite set in my ways when it comes to my work. You have to be in order to do it. Yeah. But when Sophie comes up with an idea very last minute to do this Rag and Bone Man video, I had to do it in a week. And she was like, well, I've got an idea of a vague story arc, and I would just set up a camera and you'll be painting and we'll do some sort of time-lapse thing. And I was like, okay, get closer to the day. I'm like, how are we going to do this? Like, how's this going to work? And then halfway through the process, I was like ready to give up. And then, but by the end of it, it turned out pretty well. But I was so frustrated throughout, right in the center of the process. And that's the thing. You've got to, that sort of determination and go, we'll give it a whirl anyway, And so as far as projects, we worked on musical projects together, Rag and Bone Man, metal band called Bullet for My Valentine. We did that stuff together. So all the stuff that Fiona's doing creative direction for. We did a whole bunch of stuff for Daphne Guinness. That was a little while back. That was crazy. I did Rag and Bone Man's first album cover that was painted. So that was another thing where, Fee and I were working together on that. At the same time, I'm doing my own stuff. So all my solo shows and group exhibitions and, the merch line and everything else, that works its way on kind of my individual work. And then Fee's doing her photography. And then occasionally we do these big commercial projects. But then I did this, I think it was last Christmas, this project that came out of nowhere for Canal Plus. And it was, they wanted me to paint 3 posters for this period crime drama. And it came out of nowhere. And I earned a ridiculous amount of money doing it. And which is like, that really came out of nowhere. And the only reason why we actually got a decent amount of money for it is because now we're working with an agent who is just a friend of Fee's, and he negotiates these things now. So, I mean, neither of us are very good with money, and it's amazing having that guy help us out when it comes to these negotiations now. But these things, these networks you build up, and you can't just get it like that. You've got to live for a bit within the industry, and if you keep sort of meeting and bumping into people and you get on with them and you're nice and they're nice to you, then eventually you can start collaborating on things, and everybody gains something when you do that, which is a wonderful thing. But your network is so important. So at the moment, my work's been taken to Miami Art Fair called Scope Miami with a gallery called Mortal Machine, and they're based in New Orleans. And so that's going to be this month coming, December. So my work will be there in Miami. But, I sell with Arcadia Contemporary in New York, Rock LaRue in Seattle, show in a couple of places in Australia now, Fine Art Gallery in Utrecht. I'll be showing, I've got a show in Munich next year. I've got a show in Rome. Wow. It's like, and that's all from social media and putting my work out there and word of mouth, and that's what happens. And it's there's been many years where that wasn't happening, and so I feel incredibly lucky that is my life now. But there were many years of it being quite stagnant, and it was mainly because I was just following this course in London as far as like an artistic direction where I was trying to court the wrong type of gallery, I think, essentially. I didn't really know how to do it. And because you had to go to openings and pretend you were something you weren't, essentially. And it's like an old boys club in the art world, in London in particular. And I'm just not meant for that. And the way that social media has helped me is I can be authentic and continuously share all the time, all the different, the progress of what I'm doing. And the people that are interested just find you. And that's so much better than me trying to go out and find the people.
Exactly. And I mean, just to continue my thought, because you've just also, I think what's so important is for anyone in whatever profession you're in to understand, to have that self-awareness of who you are and to have that authenticity and to be true to who you are. And don't try and, again, fit into some kind of box and try and be something you're not or what other people say you should be. And if you are that authentic person, people will see that. And then they're going to be attracted to you. And I think the other genius piece of advice that you were talking about before, where we were talking about having to be flexible. And I think your work, again, is extraordinary. And it just must take so long. And, you're in these incredible galleries, but then you have a project with Rag and Bone Man where your wife and creative partner's like, okay, in an afternoon, we need to create this basically amazing painting. And you're like, That is not what I do. That's not my style. My style is like, and it's great because I can understand, I can totally imagine the conversations that you would have had. I can imagine the pain that you felt. No, but this is it's just extraordinary how art and how, if you're flexible and how you can kind of adapt, you know, okay, this is not obviously one of my extraordinary paintings that's going to be in the Tate Gallery or wherever.
Yeah.
But it is also an absolutely beautiful execution to a song for Ragged Bowman that, you know, Ben Ashton was able to bring to life. So I think it's fascinating, actually. I think it's fascinating, and having to kind of wrestle with yourself to be able to do that kind of stuff.
The interesting thing about that process, when I was right on the I don't know, the brink of giving up and saying, oh, this is not working, is I decided to just put a load of colour over the faces in that picture. And that came out of nowhere, and probably out of desperation, and decided to drag that out of the frame. And it worked. And I was like, well, actually, fuck, right. And because, you know, you don't expect these things to happen. They just happen purely out of, like, I've run out of ideas. How can I make this good? And then I'm like, well, I could probably use that. But I
actually think that makes it. I actually think that makes it. Yeah. What is so extraordinary is even the idea of the painting and what you did with that color, which is so interesting, because that came out of desperation. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And what's so fascinating is actually that's the creative idea of that song.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know. And it's, you know, but these things, it's not, I wouldn't say it's an accident, but it's something that you wouldn't necessarily do, that you feel like you need to do just to save, I don't know, because something needs to happen.
Well, we actually talk a lot with Ty, and actually I've been asked to write a few articles on this, is, you know, necessity is the mother of invention, and how constraints can unlock new thinking, you know, and the obstacle is the way. And I think you were in a situation where there was not that much money, there was not that much time, and you didn't have many resources, and you had to figure out this creative solution to this song. And it's amazing, isn't it? Because that's when you actually are put to the test, anyone, that's actually sometimes when some of the best things kind of come out.
So this is why you should never really turn these things down. You never know what's going to come out of them. It's I learned. I get very angry in the moments, and Fee will tell you all about that. But yeah.
Where do you go for inspiration, Ben? Who inspires you?
Well, actually, so normally I would go for a walk around galleries. So during so that's my sort of meditative thing that I do. I walk around the National Portrait and the National Gallery. And I have a certain route that I do round. It's, it's quite bizarre. It's sort of meditative. It's, I stand in front of the same paintings that I've always stood in front of. And it somehow makes my brain work in a certain way. I relax into a place. There's something about the smell of it, and the atmosphere of it, and going and watching things that have been there for a really, really long time, centuries, and they've always kind of been there. And there's something in that it calms me, it makes me feel centered, and I think about the next step, and it's a good place. But over the pandemic period, things have been shut, and now they're starting to open up. But the internet is a wonderful place for all things. My entire index of historical portraiture is there in various places. And I spend a lot of my time just scrolling through things and picking things up and trying to react to what's going on in the world, and sort of using that link to art history to maybe subvert the original meaning of some of those old portraits, to make some sort of commentary on what's going on, especially in England at the moment. So yeah, that's what I find myself doing, and that's where I find my inspiration at the moment.
Wow. Now, what advice would you give our listeners? I mean, actually, until now, it's been full of advice, but is there any other advice that you would give our listeners, that if they're trying to live out their purpose or thinking about following their heart?
Well, I think probably set yourself up some manageable goals would be a good place to start, but also trying to figure out what you want to do at all is quite an interesting thought experiment. Knowing exactly what you want has always been a very, very difficult thing for me. But as soon as you actually put it into words and say it out loud and go, I'm going to do this, usually takes you a couple of years to manage it if you really try. But you've got to break up those things into manageable tasks. And so, for me, I was like, oh, God, I want to be in an international show. I need to show some stuff in a gallery. And 2 years on, I, managed that. And then you've got to then go, okay, so what do I want to do now? Because you can never stay stagnant. My route to, I don't know if it's happiness or being content, is to always be striving for something and to never feel like you're stagnant or you're just treading water. And so that's been a thing for me. So then you need to work out what that next goal is and never stay still. And I probably would say that this finding your network thing is so very important. The ones that you really connect with, that you can find support from them and you can actually support them back. And it's that community, the proper real community, that you need to find, because no one ever does anything on their own. You always need, lots of people to be in on something, I think, to actually make it happen. And also, if you're nice to people, they'll be nice back to you. I've noticed that so many times. There's no point in burning any bridges. You've got to always, whenever you're working with anyone, make it as a nice experience as possible, because it's just so mutually beneficial. I feel like people promote the idea of dog eat dog and I've got mine kind of philosophy. And I think it's so bad for society as a whole and civilization generally. I think it's very, very important that everybody helps each other out as much as possible. And so, yeah, that's my ethos, and that's Fiona's ethos. And I feel like we work with nice people as a result, and they're nice to us and we're nice back to them, and we all succeed together, and it works.
It's how it should be, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And I think it's really, the showbiz artist world, like you said, the old boys club, it can just not be like that. And how wonderful that you are so true to your values and what is important to you and who you plan to work with and spend time with.
But also, the art world prides itself on exclusivity. I mean, that's how they sell things for ridiculous amounts of money. And, I don't know how down I am with that, to be honest. So I try and make it so you can collect my work in smaller ways, and I work on paper to make things cheaper so my work isn't so astronomically expensive for the canvas and the panel ones. And I don't like the exclusivity of the art world, and I feel like everybody should enjoy art. And social media has allowed people, it's democratized it so brilliantly, where everybody now feel like they've got an opinion on art and modern art and what's going on right now, instead of just reading stuff in the newspaper and going, oh yeah, art, what a load of nonsense. The only art that they put in the newspaper is stuff that's like heavily conceptual things that you need to read an essay on it to actually understand what it's all about, like a light turning on in a gallery, and then everybody's outraged. They're like, oh God, that's what modern art's all about, and oh, what a load of rubbish. How elitist. And it's like, that's not what art should be about, it's not. And there's plenty of artists that are not like that. And not that there's a problem with the artists that are like that. It's just, it's a different client base that they're heading for, I suppose, where it's like, there are many parts of the art world.
And I think what's so beautiful as well, and you live what you're talking now. I mean, on Instagram, if you guys go to Instagram, if you're not already following Ben, you've got your tutorials that you give, your lives that, and you and Fiona are chatting and you're explaining. I watched one just the other day of the glazing and the blue glaze over the orange background and how you can push the background back. I don't paint, but if I did paint, that is just really nice. And just to sort of get like, God, okay, that's really nice. And you spend the time to just help people just understand how to be better painters. And I just think it's just it's just wonderful what you and Fiona together, actually, because I know that she's the camera person in the background.
Yeah, she's the one that suggests that I do it in the first place, But then I realised that, in fact, the conversations that come from that are really fun as well. In the comment section, people ask various other things. And I realised that imparting knowledge that I've picked up on my own is actually, it's wonderful to give that to people. You feel better as a human for doing that, I think. Yeah. Whatever that is.
Yeah.
So
now we've come to the end of the podcast, but I would just love to know, what are you working on at the moment? You touched on it a little bit, but what are you working on at the moment, or what haven't I asked you that you'd like to tell the listeners?
Oh. Well, okay, so what I'm doing at the moment with Fiona, because she's the tech-savvy one out of the two, is I'm designing some really hilarious merch. Because, you know, I've done this sort of T-shirt line with Threadless. That was the last thing I did as far as merchandise. But now we're doing like homeware and tables and umbrellas and bomber jackets and just all sorts of crazy stuff like that. You know, travel mugs and a coffee set, and just, it's hilarious. And so, yeah, I've been having a lot of fun making the designs for that. And so that'll probably be done by the end of the week. And then what have I got? So yes, I've said the thing. I did Scope Miami. That's happening this month coming. And then February, I got a group show here where I've painted a portrait of Princess Margaret. All these artists are responding to the same image of Princess Margaret. It's a really bizarre idea for a show. It's because this iconic photographer, it's her daughter, has set up a foundation in her father's honour when he died. And we're all responding to this one photo, Princess Margaret holding a cushion with "It's not easy being a princess" written on it. And it's a really amusing photo, and we've all been given it, and we've all responded in our own different ways. So that's going to be a really funny show. That's in February.
And where is that?
Yeah, that's London Bridge. That's in London. That's like one of my only exhibitions in London for, I don't know, ages.
Wow.
And then after that, I think July, it's in Munich at Stoer Punk Gallery. Then another one in Rome. And then I think I'm going back to Moscow for Art Life. And then San Francisco by the end of the year will Beautiful and Bizarre. It's the magazine, they put on a show in San Francisco. And so that'll be right at the end of next year. So I've got my entire year mapped out, because you need to, because otherwise, you know, so I've got like 2 solo shows, and that's a lot of work. That's, I don't know, 15 paintings each.
Wow.
I haven't started. I've just been doing a whole bunch of works on paper at the moment, just to, you know, figure out what I'm doing for the next big canvases, because it helps.
And actually to that point, because I mean, as I say, I'm not from the art world. Is this going to still be the same line of the art that's behind you right now? That is it going to be that, but just different portraits, or are you going down another route completely this time?
It's basically it's still going to have an art historical sort of route in it.
Yeah,
there will still be portraiture involved. There will be other things getting in the way. So it'd be the process of producing it. So it will look like there's a fault in the mechanical process of making it. So I want it to look like it's been made by a machine and the machine's breaking down.
Wow.
And so that's, So you'll have to see anyway. But
yes.
It's going to be an interesting progression. So it's kind of almost like I've established this way of working, and now I want there to be like, I don't know, it's glitching out and it's breaking in some way. So that's like the world seems to be at the moment. So so I quite like to respond to it in that way. So that's my plan anyway.
Yeah, and I remember watching one of your videos where Fiona, I mean, because for the listeners, I mean, the amount of work that goes into this art, and then she asked the really good question, which is, so after all of that, is it not stressful to then create that glitch? I mean, just can you answer that? Because I can't even imagine doing that after spending all that time, the number of layers and layers and detail, and then you break it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's important. It's important for me to do that. I've spent a long time learning how to learning how to paint things perfectly and all the rest. And after a while, it can only go so far. And I see so many beautifully painted pictures that are very realistic all over the place. And there's a sort of innate kind of want for me to destroy something beautiful after I've done it. I don't know what it is now, but it never used to be like that. I think it's just the way that I'm probably responding to everything now. We've got a beautiful world, and we're happily destroying it continually. So maybe it's something to do with that. Maybe it's coming out in that way. Wow.
Ben, it has been such a joy to speak to you. Thank you so much for taking the time. You are an inspiration.
My pleasure.
You and Fiona both are really extraordinary. Yeah, I just love talking to both of you, and I love your work, both of your work, and thank you for joining me. And you've definitely inspired the listeners, because this has been an absolutely fantastic conversation. Thank you.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. Yeah, that's really lovely to hear. And I very much enjoyed this.
Good. Until next time.
Hey everyone, this is Philippa again. I hope you enjoyed listening. Now, this is your chance to get involved with Thai. If you work in the commercial world, whatever your profession, your position, or your experience, then Thai could be for you. You may have been in business for decades, but have always felt there's another way. Or you may just have a few years experience, but want to do more. Equally, if you want to create game-changing employees and see your company impact the world, we've got you covered. Thai has never been more necessary than right now, and you can be a part of it. Reach out to me at philippa@theinternationalexchange.co.uk and I can tell you more. Or join the Thai Accelerator info session for more information. apply.thaiaccelerator.com. Better leaders, better companies, better world. I'm your host, Philippa White. This podcast has been co-produced by Berna Vieira and me, music by Berna Vieira, and artwork by Kelps Vahais. I hope we'll meet again soon.